Imagine by Bernard King and Jemma. Episode 22. Jemma has finished writing Imagine. Her publisher is not happy with the ending. So, she asked. It's quite a story, Jemma, I said. Her manuscript still lay open at the last page, its cover sagging over the edge of my desk. I had just finished reading it before she had arrived. She had said just that one word and was now taking her clothes off. Her next move was even better. She hauled me sideways and bundled me onto my office couch. I'm a very impatient mistress. She did not need to say that. My pants looping over the back of the couch was sufficient establishment of character. I ran my finger from the top of her forehead, between her eyes, down her nose, across her delicious lips, tickled my way down the length of her neck, plunged between the softness of her breasts, then finished with a slow, thoughtful, and gentle trace of my fingertip around her navel. Usually, I never mix business with pleasure. I will say that again because it's true, and I want you to believe it. I never mix business with pleasure. It should never happen. Sex and all the emotions it triggers has no place near page numbers, print runs, cover colours, and all the impedimenta of multinational book publishing. Sex clouds issues, counterfeits characters, ignites suspicion, and spawns problems. Bring it into the workplace, and routines become jagged. Concentration sags between dutiful decisions and dirty deeds, and corridors echo to the deafening lashes of wagging tongues. I tell myself that this publisher has not been sucked into this moral morass, but after 10 weeks of committing adultery with my top authoress, I'm beginning not to believe myself. Last week, I made 2 dubious decisions in haste while thinking of my mistress. It is worrying that the decisions could have serious consequences. It is even more worrying that she could not leave my mind, despite my mental contortions to try and persuade her to do so. She is squatting in every corner of my consciousness, as well as each entrance, and my office, where we have made love each week for the last 10 weeks, shrieks sex so loudly when I enter, my work dissolves into a nuisance, melted by the heat of my anticipation of the next Wednesday, when Jemma will smile her way in and start my trembling. Her fingers returned my caress, stroking a tickle along the line between my forehead and my neck that is my profile. I'm going to call it Imagine. The wrench hurt, but when your mind was where my mind was, getting it out of an orbit of passion and back to business was never going to be pleasant. You don't like it? Her eyes were also asking me the question. I thought that tickling her left nipple might help soften what I was about to say. I suspended my tickle. My expression, my body language, and my hesitation had telegraphed my thoughts. Authors train themselves to support these tells in the same way they inhale dialogue, which makes lying to them a very difficult exercise. It's the ending, isn't it? I nodded. I was left feeling cheated. Yes, it was here. It was the look she gave me, a superior, triumphant glance that I think she tried to stop. I remember it exactly. The word downhill suddenly attached itself to our conversation. Whether Jemma actually changed her expression or my imagination changed it in my mind, I cannot tell, but the furrows appearing on her brow started a chill in my well-heated office. But it's not finished. Now she said that with a smile, not with a genuine smiling smile, but with a fake that effectively masked any expression she did not wish me to see. So why did you write the end? I asked. To fool you. Jemma, this is no time for jokes. We agreed the book would be ready for Christmas. Her hand involuntarily folded into a fist, a dart in her perfect blue eyes, and a very sexy mouth, spoiled by a slight tightening, removed downhill from our conversation, replacing it with worrying. That will not be a problem, she whispered quietly, for you. Now, I'm not boasting, but my mind has been described as quicksilver. The pictures that streaked in and lined up, waiting to be chosen, were astonishing, even for me. Did she mean she will have no trouble delivering the work? Did she mean I was not to worry about a thing? Or, and this is the one that started my rumble, when she has finished the book, I will not be in the equation. My mind may be quicksilver, but physically my expressions tend to lag. Surprise, bewilderment, and then shock, chasing each other across my face, made her smile. Come on, Christopher. You must have guessed my secret. I hadn't. Honestly, I hadn't. I'm a busy publisher. I don't have time for secrets. I don't really have time for my Wednesday evening dip with Jemma. But a fuck is a fuck and cannot be missed. What secret is she talking about? The death of her husband was a bit murky, but authors don't have time for secrets either. They're always writing. Think about the beginning of Imagine, she said. Yes, sweetheart, quite clever. The mistress worrying the life out of her lover by pretending the husband was writing something in fact she was writing. But then everything Jemma did was well thought out. It was here the volume of my rumble increased. She was smiling at me again, waiting for my jigsaw to complete its picture. And it did. 6 months earlier, Jemma Lumarine had collapsed in my office, a tear-streaked, shivering, mental wreck. I patted, I stroked her unhappy head, encouraging and smiling her back to as near as she could get to sanity, explaining that most authors do smack into writer's block at some times and it always fades eventually. A week later, a bright phone call, a bubbling intro to her latest epic, which I did not like and I told her so, and the incident faded. My loud rumble suddenly went up 10 kilocycles to a loud whine. Jemma was moving towards her bag. I should note here that I always have a pistol in my desk. Thieves are not brilliant individuals. That is probably why they are thieves. And because my authors sell many millions of books, they seem to think I keep many millions of pounds in my office safe, which I do not. Nevertheless, after 15 break-ins over 5 years, even the police agreed I'd needed a little hardware for my defense. And right now, I am working out the distance between me and Jemma, between Jemma and her bag, and between me and Gemma's bag. But my calculations did not help. She had her hand in her bag before I could move. The whine amplified up to a whistle, but ridiculously, I was calm. Your imagination seized, I said, and you had your head on writer's block. So now you live your books. Receiving no answer, I swung my legs off the couch. She shook her head. You won't make it, Christopher. You will be arrested. You will go on trial, a big cliff-hanging trial that you will write into your book. What else could I say when you're sitting naked on the edge of a couch, looking down that death hole of a Magnum 45? Conversation is limited. But Christopher, you have missed a very important point, she chided. What would James Bond do in a situation like this? Yank the rug from under her feet? Difficult. I'm a rich publisher, and all my carpets are well fitted. Snatch up the couch and throw it at her? Again, difficult. I may be rich, but publishers are not physically very strong. Throw myself aside as her finger tightens on the trigger. Negative. I am rich, weak, and very, very slow. I have an office that is soundproofed and temperature controlled so the windows cannot be opened. I have locked the door, and it is Gemma's job to be one step ahead of the reader, and at this point, her publisher. Notice that all those are negatives, and they are all pointing in my direction. You, she said, are going to help me finish Imagine. One half of me said this was not really happening, while my other half was reacting sensibly. It was frozen in panic. Then they avalanched. 10 weeks of remarks, throwaways, and the incidents. A huge mass of information hitting surroundings and swallowing me. Novelists can't stop themselves giving clues. They're hooked on tantalizing. I had been set up, worked on, and primed for her big moment. She could not give me the ending because I would have recognized myself. It was obvious the ending needed life. She tossed me a comprehensive smile. For me, a comprehensive smile is a smile that covers everything. Satisfaction, triumph, achievement, success, and above all, confidence. She tapped the magnum thoughtfully on the table. But the life I mean is death. Christopher, are you a wimp? Are you just going to sit there and take this? Make up your mind, man. Do you want to be shot spread-eagled on the couch or shot trying to escape? It was a finely balanced decision, as answers always are to stupid questions. I jumped to my feet and flew at her. A naked Jemma is quite lightweight, slight even, and with the perfect figure that I found so attractive that could not possibly lift my 18-stone body. But had I got this right? No, I had not. I'm not a writer, but it does not take much imagination to know what's exploding here. It is me. Her movements were precise, accurate, and effective. Her blows painful, powerful, and paralyzing. As I sank, shaking from pain, to the floor, I remembered Jemma was a judo black belt, and as she was naked, did not happen to be wearing it. It does not do to forget titbits like that. You see, Christopher, the more successful your last book was, the more difficult it is to write the next one. For me, anyway. I can't speak for Shakespeare. She said that to me 2 months ago. It was the first clue, but it did not click. There have been others, but last Wednesday was the wakey-wakey. She had sagged back, sexually saturated. I was as exhausted as she was, and had not realized what she had said until she had left. Why, God, do you make me live my books? She had groaned. Like I say, I'm not a writer. Last lines, sweating for adjectives, and blank screens are not my bag. I live much more exciting things to panic over, like right now, and my whine has shored into a scream. I know Jemma is going to kill me. Those were the thoughts that whirled about my head as I rocked backwards, horizontally backwards, with my seared throat competing with my bruised testicles for first place agony. My fitted carpet has soundproofing beneath it. Also, very expensive but good quality underlay. It must have cushioned my landing as not all my breath vanished in a painful gasp as I hit the Axminster. My eyes were two cowards, refusing to open, refusing to register anything but the friendly black. You're not dead, Jemma barked. Yet. I did not want to open my eyes, but terror said otherwise, and a special scene exploded into focus. Jemma was pointing the gun at me. The knuckle of her trigger finger was slowly whitening. It was a scene about to explode, a scene for those living their final second. Fear was my last emotion that I would ever remember. So strong, so terrifying, it almost hauled me back to the floor as I struggled to get up. I don't know how many paces it was to the door, but I made them all. I curled my fingers around the key. Just a twist and I was out, away from insanity, away from Jenna, still living her book as she followed me with her gun. But a dead hand cannot turn anything. Oh, yes, I heard the explosion just before my hearing went. Her bullet had pierced the back of my head, churned through my brain, smacked against my skull on the inside behind my forehead, before dropping back into the grey tissue. It was still pretty hot, so it seared its way down, melting delicate cells. It would have been agony, but I was already dead and leaving the drama, watching the fluid that had kept me alive for 43 years soak into the patterned carpet I had chosen so that it would not show any stains. It was a twist I hadn't seen, another stunt from the famous author. She would finish her next bestseller in prison. Now that would be a novel. I saw people rushing down the hall to my office as Jemma stepped across what was left of me to let them in, still holding the smoking gun. She was talking into a voice recorder and smiling, pleased with her hot prose. I could not hear what she said, as my journey had started, back to where I'd come from before I was born. Then I chuckled, my last one ever. Jemma now would have to find another publisher. But what idiot would take her on the way she had treated the last one? Honestly, the end.